I grew up.
Yeah,
But we should be in Matthew chapter 5, folks. The 5th chapter of Matthew, verses 14, 15, and 16 is what we're going to read. Everybody ready? Here we go. Matthew 5, 14, 15, and 16. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Now, can anybody tell me what that means? Anybody? Going once? Going twice? Yes, sir.
God is almighty.
That's a pretty. Now you sound like Barney Fife saying, says, good message, Parson. Sin. Covered that on me. Yes, ma'am.
That your like actions should show God.
That's pretty true. We're going to do a little demonstration. Hey, Josh, can you kill the lights back here real quick? All right, just a second. We're going to make it even better. Can any way you can turn them off without it being too bad? Which we're not going to read anymore. All right, now let me ask you something. What's the most noticeable person in here now?
You.
What about for the people over here on this side? Can you hardly even tell there's people on the other side? Could you tell who they were? Could you tell who they were if you did not know who was sitting over there?
I can see a big head too.
Hey, folks. If you didn't know who was sitting on the other side, would you have any chance of knowing who it was if you just walked in like this? Yeah. But what about me?
Yes.
I'm pretty clear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. All right, you can turn it back. Now, why did I do that? Why was I the most obvious person in this room?
She had a lot.
Okay. Can you be a little bit more explicit?
Yeah, we're shining your lights.
I was shining a light, but
Flash.
the light
The light was on.
actually reflecting off of me, and you could see the light because it reflected off of me. And if you know anything about ophthalmology and that kind of stuff, you understand that it's all about light waves and things like that. So I'm not the light's shining off of me, and you can see it then. So I'm obvious. It's obvious that I'm there. Now, what we just read says that we're the light of the world. Now, we're not necessarily the light of the world, because remember in John chapter 1, it tells us that Jesus is the light of the world. Jesus is the actual light of the world. But so what does it mean when it says we are the light of the world?
Because we're on the earth now, and Jesus it's our job to shine.
So where is Jesus? Yeah, but where's he at?
In our hearts.
Should be in our hearts. That's right, Bill. Which is through the Holy Spirit. But still, so now it's our responsibility as Christians to reflect that light so others see it. Now, let me ask you this. If there's a crowd of people, and most of them, the vast majority of them, are not saved, or not born again, or not Christians, and a Christian walks in that crowd, what does that mean? What should it be? What should happen right then when that Christian walks in the crowd? It should be kind of like what I just demonstrated, where y'all could obviously see me, and without being able to see each other so much. What does that mean? As a Christian, we should be different to the crowd. We should be a little bit different. We should be obvious to people that there's something different about us. We talked about this before, that when you got a bunch of people that are not Christians and you are in that crowd, they should know there's something different about you. Once they know you're a Christian, it's obvious what's different. But without them just knowing, they should know you're a Christian. I asked a question one time, is how many, what was it, have you ever had anybody come up to you and say, what's different about you? Or, are you a Christian? Have you ever had that happen? And I think when I asked it, I think most answers I got was no, I ain't never had that happen.
Well, you just ask me.
Yeah. But the thing is that should happen. It should be that people should say, are you a Christian? Because the way you live your life exudes that. It makes people see that you are. And you don't have to go running around quoting scripture to people and telling people they're doing wrong and that's sin and all that. So, it's not about that. It's about just letting Jesus live through you by helping others without any desire for a return, with showing the example of what it is to be a Christian without, you don't have to just shove it down their throat. You don't have to do that. But you do have to be a Christian. You'll figure all that out. Read your Bible will tell you about the things that's really expected of you and what you should be doing. And that way so people can see that in you. Now, what is one of the things, and we're actually, just so you know, we're getting into, we're fixing to have a little question and answer time here. We want us to come up with some ideas. It won't take us long, but that's what we're working at. Letting our light shine and people know that we're Christian. What are some of the benefits of that? What is some of the good things that can happen from that? Anybody? Absolutely, absolutely. What else could happen? See if anybody hits on the thing that I'm going to do. Probably not. Maybe not. Who knows? Anybody? What's something that good that can come from that?
I think too, it gives us as Christians accountability.
It does give us accountability.
Like if we're professing to be a Christian.
That's right. We are letting our light shine.
We know we have to try to live up to that.
And here is something about that. I know, and especially for young folks and stuff, or maybe new Christians and stuff, sometimes it's hard. You're awkward with the way it is. Maybe you don't, how do I go about witnessing to somebody or things like that, and you just don't feel just exactly right. Sometimes you have that issue. But I can assure you, once you ever commit to being a obvious Christian, it gets a lot easier for you. Once you get beyond that first awkwardness or whatever that may be, it gets a lot easier.
And you can usually tell too, once you're capable of ministering to out loud and maybe more subtle with.
Exactly, and it takes both ways, for sure. But here's something, and Emily actually said it. One of those things that we can do by living that way, by being that light, is we can also get people to start going to church. And even though you may not be able to just one-on-one get witness to them, maybe you don't have maybe God hasn't given you that gift of being able to figure out how to talk to the right person or talk to people, stuff like that. But maybe the way you're living and stuff might encourage somebody to want to come to church. So you're increasing the church attendance and things like that. And that's a key. It blows my mind the percentages of people that's never been to church now versus when I was a kid. I mean, when I was a kid, everybody went to church. I mean, they may not go but Christmas and Easter, or something like that, but they had went to church. Now the numbers of people that have never stepped foot in a church is unbelievably high, even in what's known as the Bible Belt here in the South. So maybe that's the way you do it. Maybe you're able to convince somebody to attend church. And once they get in church, maybe then the rest of the work will be done. So that's where we're getting to our little Q&A for this evening. what, and I'm asking everybody, what can we do as the Oak Grove Missionary Baptist Church Youth Group? What can we do to try to help increase attendance? And on Wednesday nights and on Sundays, what can we do? Does anybody have a thought right off the top of their head of, hey, we could do this, or maybe we need to do this, or whatever? If you've got ideas, let's discuss those, and then let's work at implementing whatever it is. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. That's one of the easiest things in the world, is to invite people. And then not only invite people, but provide an opportunity or a way to help make sure they can get there. And the thing is we're probably not going to go buy a church bus and then go make rounds. We want their parents here too. So how do we implement, how do we work that?
It was one of the things that we could
Yeah, that's what.
do. Give out pamphlets.
Absolutely. And that actually used to be a pretty big deal. We used to churches gave out flyers pretty regularly. They went through their neighborhoods and they went door to door, knocking on the door. Hey, how you doing today? Just wanted to stop by, give you this, invite you to church. If you don't have somewhere you already go, love to have you at Oak Grove. You're always welcome. I'll show you something else. Talking about stuff like that. Pass that around. This is the kind of stuff that churches used to do in our area to try to help with attendance.
How does
Anybody?
this thing work?
They probably don't. It never worked real well, them kind. And some of the older ones will say it and they'll tell you, yeah, no kidding. Yes, sir, will. Very good. If you know somebody, and it's one thing, and this is something we can do as a youth group. We can, we can order, a case of like the small New Testament Bibles with Psalms and Proverbs or something. And if you've got somebody you want to give a Bible to, by all means, you can have it and give it to them. The Oak Grove does have Bibles back here that we give people if they need a Bible when they come. Now, we don't just give them out, because you don't want them just to go somewhere that they're not going to have any chance of good use. But that's a wonderful idea with them, to give out Bibles. That's a good idea. Yes, sir. No, go ahead.
I was thinking, but it wouldn't show them what church we're going
What's that?
telling them about God.
Well, that don't, and think about this too now. Yeah, we'd love to have them here at Oak Grove. But if we can get them into any church that is teaching the truth, that's good. It don't have to be. As long as they believe that the words in this book and they pray, that's just like you said, Will. That's the thing. We would love to have them here. Absolutely. Everybody's always welcome here. But if your witness to them gets them in another church that's a good church too, that's good too. That's just as good. That's fine.
Could always hold a monthly prayer little thing at the schools once a month in the morning time before. Go and have a little session where we pray, and that kind of gets out there.
FCA at all schools.
Is that the Fellowship of Christian Athletes or Fellowship?
Yeah.
They do a really good job of it at KA. I've been very, very pleased.
Yeah, I know, I want to thank Constellina, I don't even know how much, I think Tinsley was involved in it.
I know we had Youth for Christ in our time.
I don't even know that we still
They
have
meet every
it.
Thursday morning at
Josh?
7:30.
Yeah.
And,
We don't
it's
have
all
it.
student led, and, they worship,
And
they
that's-
praise.
absolutely.
It's a good chance for kids to see other kids.
Right, and we don't
Yeah.
have that at
It's-
Constellion.
That would be great to get that going again
Right.
in all of our local schools.
I don't know that we, well, and that's something we could always look into, getting kids involved to see our kids at any of the schools. Would be maybe once a month go up and maybe do a
But yeah, that's the kind of stuff we're trying to do. What can we do to help get people going to church? As a church, and this is more of that stuff that's not like it once was. A church's job, one of the jobs of a church local church is community involvement, to be helpful in the community, to be a light in your community. And it's more than coming to church and sitting on the pews and singing and listening to preaching. It's also how we act then Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, Friday and Saturday, and what we do to show people, you know, what about Jesus. And that's our community involvement. Yes.
I've noticed when we have activities, more people come,
Mhm.
so we can have more activities, and before the activities, give a little something.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with activities. That's the thing you got to look at. That's the hard part sometimes. You know, we could have 100 kids every week easily if we done some of the things that some places might do it. But where do we draw the line? We've got to be careful about it. The number one reason we're here, we do, and that's the question. Your first reason is here. You're here to worship the Lord. Now, you know, there's nothing wrong with different ways of worship, but it's just that we have to stay focused on it. If worship, so far I've heard nothing that's not absolutely dead on. So, activities. Well, with I can certainly tell you that one activity that comes to mind now, again, is not just movie night, but drive-in movie night. For anybody that didn't get to see, we got about a 20-foot projection screen out there in the field now. And, yeah, what me and your daddy and Paul have been working on. But, so we can go back, you know, years ago, we did movie nights inside some. Some of y'all remember that, I'm sure. But I mean, we literally have the opportunity now to do a true drive-in movie, because we can pull up out there, it's broadcast over the radio, just like you would do.
You can get in the back of your truck and you can have like a pool in, you can fit blankets and stuff.
And it wouldn't hurt to, instead of just posting that on Facebook, go one door to door and handing out flyers. We do maybe not, because to me, Facebook don't get a whole lot out.
It
So
don't.
it has been going on.
Because people scroll.
Yeah, and a lot of times, and believe me, I can assure you that a lot of times people read the first line or two, and that's about it.
Or
I
they
know
say,
that
oh, it's
because
over,
sometimes
that's a church, keep going.
every now and then I'll slip a little something in there just to see if anybody's
Yeah.
actually reading all of it.
Yeah.
But no, that's true. And so it is, and there's nothing wrong with doing things like we used to do. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying we got to do everything the old-fashioned way, although I love that, but I understand that it's not that way. So, yeah, you know, there's nothing wrong, and that's something that used to happen a lot, but you don't see anymore, at least not in our area. People just going door to door.
I think face-to-face inbox is way more
I
personal.
think it is personal. It's good. And I understand this too, because I know some people are like, I ain't doing that. Well, you know, actually that kind of ministry is not for everybody. Everybody has different things that they're comfortable with, and I don't want to say it that way. That's the wrong way to say it. Everybody has different things that God has gifted them to do, and that's the truth. We're not all the same. We, you know, some people are very good at being out in the community, being vocal, being inviting people and stuff like that. Some are not. I'll be the first to admit I'm not the greatest at going to people's houses and doing stuff. It's a little weird to me, and I don't know why. No, that's true, but I don't. Anyway, but I mean, it's different for different people as to what you. And comfortable is not the right word. I'm not going to say it, because the truth is God takes us out of our comfort zones and puts us where He wants us. Because I can assure you that's the very truest truth. You know, you don't think it's not going to be about your comfort zone. It's going to be about what God wants of you and what His plan for you is. So, anyways, anything else? Anybody got anything? Any other thoughts or ideas? I think those are all, pretty good ideas, but I'd like for us to work on some of this
Well,
stuff.
that's what I was.
Instead
I
of
think we
just
should take it serious.
bringing it up, I'd like for us to do,
Even when it's okay, you can get back Sunday school.
and I agree.
Sunday school.
And that's, and just to give y'all a little update on some of that stuff. I agree. You know, some of the, a little update on some of that stuff. First off, this stuff don't affect our children especially, hardly at all. Thank the Lord for that. I'm very thankful for that. And then it seems like, you know, the older you are, the more opportunity it seems to have to really truly be a bad thing for you. So, with that said, obviously our kids are doing fine coming together doing this stuff. And that's great, and I like that, and I'm all for it. We do have to remember our older folks in our church. Because for them, many of our older folks, if they would get it, they're done. It's over.
Well, and
And-
even right now, we are seeing.
And we're seeing a
kids.
spike right now. Not only are we seeing a spike in it, we're seeing a spike in younger kids getting it. We're seeing a spike and locally, we're seeing a spike in folks that are.
People we
dying.
know.
Yeah, people we know, stuff like that. So we have to be careful. We have to continue to be careful. Now, do we live in fear? Absolutely not. If the Lord chooses to take us away, then that's the Lord's choice, and it's all right. Because if you're saved, as Paul said, for me to live is Christ. Meaning, I'm going to keep on working to show everybody I can Christ. For me to die is gain. Why? Because I'm going to heaven. And I can assure you, no matter how much we like it here, when we get there, we're going to realize it's that much more better. And we're not even going to want to come back and see our friends and family. We're going to say, I'm going to wait right here until they get here. That's how good it is.
But boy, that's what won't be nothing.
It won't be, that's right, time as a whole is just completely different, but you will not desire to come back here, I can promise you that.
And time past, present, future.
It's all the same thing.
So, if I can get that, then we're recording.
Yes and no, but again, that's a lot deeper than what any of us are even capable of understanding. But anyway, all right, so, how did we get off to that?
Good.
No, I mean, how did we go? Huh?
So
Yeah, okay, yeah, back to some. The consensus is that we're gonna get through to the new year.
Which
Just,
though makes it hard for getting more people to come.
no, I agree with you 100%. Well, and just to answer some questions too, and I would like for this to get around. We recognize that younger people, and I'm going to adults here, younger adults tend to not want to come to church on Sunday morning at 9 o'clock in the morning. We do recognize that. Although some of us older folks, and I fall in this category, even though I'm much younger than most of them, if it's up to me, we'd be here at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. I mean, that'd be fine with me. But the truth is that there is no doubt that the younger adults of today, they don't want to do that. And not only do they not want to do that, it's become too easy to just not do it. Well, I'm not going to go. And although we don't necessarily try to do things just to get people in the church house, we do have to do things to get people in the church house. Do have to do the right thing. So, in that case, yeah, we will be going back. Our times will be changing back and stuff. Don't know when. I mean, that's going to be, that's.
Or even if it's kept at 9, I'm just saying like but I do think, I miss all that, but I think that we are handcuffed
Yeah.
by COVID right now in a lot of ways with
We
all
are.
the stuff that we've done.
And we are. There's a lot of things that we're missing out
Because
on.
what we're having to do to accommodate so many of our older ones, it just
Well-
does make it so.
We do Zoom meetings Sunday school class.
You ain't got
We can, I mean, the kids can actually, we can come together. We come together on Wednesday nights, we can come together on Sunday morning.
Right.
It's fine. The key is just kind of, like I said, right now it was, the idea is pretty much to kind of let this year, which we're almost done, kind of let this year get done, and then we're gonna go into the new year and probably start doing some things different. And I mean, it may be, and if you have ideas, this is the thing. If you have ideas, if things come to you about ways to deal with what we deal with, let us know. You got an idea? Oh, you just like waiting. But if you do have ideas, I mean, come with it. One idea that's been kicked around a little bit is kind of like a lot of the bigger churches do, having 2 different services on Sunday mornings.
But do we have a big enough crowd?
Well, in this case, this is why we would do it. It's not because we're going to do a traditional and contemporary service. That's not the case, which is what they tend to do,
That
the
is what
churches.
they do.
And that's why they do splits a lot of times, unless they're just huge churches. Ours is more of a, do an outside service and do an inside service. We'll have an outside morning service early for those that don't want to come inside. And then we'll have a traditional service, where we do our Sunday school in our church and stuff like that. That's an idea that's kicked around. But if you have ideas, if you have thoughts, and and ways of encouraging or increasing, what we can do, by all means, bring it to somebody and let us see what we can do. Here's the thing. Here's the key. Our older people are getting older, and they're also, with COVID and things like that, there's a chance that a lot of our older people are not going to get to be back in here the way they've done it. We've got some that it's going to be, unless something amazing happens, the Lord does a mighty work, we may never get to have them inside ever again, other than maybe you.
You definitely got older with your COVID. So
Yeah, no kidding, I'm with you. I agree with you there, big boy. But my point is, the younger folks have to, you got to start stepping up, and we got to start filling some of the shoes and start having more leadership within our church. And, that's things that we've got to do. So, if you've got ideas, by all means, bring them. And I can certainly assure you that I know that there's been times in the past where people didn't seem to be as receptive of things and all, but we're at a time in our church, in our the situation we're in, where people are a lot more humbler, people are a lot more, they're realizing that we need to do certain things in order to grow, in order to continue, and that kind of stuff. And and so us as the younger adults of this church, there are things that we can do, that we can step up and we can do, and and we can help with Oak Grove Baptist Church. Y'all, I've been in this church since 1979. That's right. 41 years I have been in this church. Mandy has never, in her life, has never not known what it is to be in this church. As a matter of fact, Josh had. Me and Shalee would have been the only two in the family that didn't spend our entire lives here.
How old are you?
And me, 28.
79.
But anyway, yeah, I'm 28 years old, but I've been in this church for 41 years.
Yeah.
But the point is that I've been here for 41 years in this church. I've watched this church change and grow and shrink. I mean, there was a time, y'all, that we literally we would have 4 people here on a Wednesday night, including everybody that showed up. We'd have I've seen a couple of years there where on Sundays, Sunday morning services, we had no Sunday school class in the back. We simply had a Sunday school hour up front, and then we would have church, and we wouldn't break 20 people. We wouldn't have 20 people. So you see ebbs and flows, and you see things like that. But you want your church to grow. You want your church to get bigger. You want your church to be on fire for the Lord and to be, getting the message out. And that's what we need to do, and that's what our job is as Christians. At first, when we're Christians, it's our job to be Christians and learn how to be a Christian and learn what the things we need to do. But as we grow and as we study and we get things revealed to us by God, it's our job then. It starts becoming our job to be ministers in whatever way the Lord would have us minister. And it is our job to nurture our church and try to grow it.
It's so interesting because God works in mysterious ways. This makes me almost tear up.
But ain't nothing wrong with that either.
Because how many times has our generation gotten frustrated with our older?
Absolutely.
And I miss them so much.
Believe me.
I miss when I heard Gerald pray the other day, like it just, I thought, gosh, I've not heard Gerald pray in a year.
Yeah, I know.
Or I just miss them so much. I just think, gosh, if we can ever just all get back together, I will be so grateful for their input, their wisdom, their leadership.
Yes.
I'm just, it's funny how a little perspective goes a
Well,
little.
it takes
Well,
a
it's
little
funny how
perspective.
losing something
Right.
shows you how much you
Right.
Well, that's
How
where
much you
we-
really need.
That's right. And that's when you realize things.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt. I mean,
Going back there,
Oh, I
gathering
miss
and
it.
eating
I
out
miss
together,
Oh,
I miss that
hey,
so
I miss. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you something that I missed.
And it does scare me when I hear, like, people say, we may not be able to get back to that for a long time.
And we may never get to have some of our older people back with us, and that's just the truth. And that's a reality. And and it's not even just because it's the cycle of life, and the fact that our older folks are going to pass on, They're gonna come to a day that you don't have them in. And COVID has made it shockingly real to all of us, that how fragile life can be in the sense of the things we take for granted, gets took away from us. You know, you talked about, y'all talk about the eat, getting together. You know, we used to do that. We used to do it once a month.
Yeah.
You know, and you do take it for granted because it is enjoyable. It's something we enjoy. It's a time of fellowship. I tell you one of the things I missed, and this was crazy. Praying in the back here before Sunday morning service starts. You know, for years and years, it was a couple of people, and that was it. For about maybe a year, not quite even a year before we had to quit having services in here, that room had filled back up in clothes. I mean, there was literally 10 or 12 men in that little old prayer room on Sunday mornings praying together. I had not seen that in this church since I was a young man. And, used to, we did things. Saturday night, the men in this church come together for prayer meeting. Back here, what's the audio visual room now? That used to be a little Sunday school room. There was just a simple door right there where Josh is sitting. It was right there, same on this side. But on Saturday nights, that room would be full of men from this church praying. Sometimes we might be here for hours and hours. I'd come sometime when Daddy let me, because I was a little fella. Because you didn't know. You may not get home until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning on those nights. I miss some of those things.
Well, and we got to think about what happened to that fire. Why is it not there anymore?
Well, things change.
I
Now,
know, but
they
it
do.
just makes you wonder what makes it
Well,
work.
and it all goes back to what you're saying. And this does go back to even our youth. So we've always been able to depend on those stakeholders in our
That's right.
church to guide us, to lead us, their wisdom. And now that they can't have that same kind of involvement that they once did, who does that lead?
And if we're not,
It's us. We
yeah,
gotta
we're not
step
doing
up.
it.
And I don't feel like a grown up. And I don't feel like
No,
a grown up.
I know exactly what you're
I mean,
talking
like,
about.
I don't feel like a grown up yet.
I don't know.
I still feel
Well,
like I'm somewhere in the
And the
middle.
thing is you'll never feel like them. You know what I mean?
Right.
You'll never feel like the way you think of them.
Right.
I feel, believe me,
But I mean, here we are.
but we are here, and the truth is that's,
Here we are.
it is, and the thing is it, whether it's today or it's a year from now, it is going to be our responsibility for this church to do the things for this church to keep this church going. And that's not just the young adults that we're talking about. I'm talking about the kids too, because listen to me. When I was a kid in this church, there was at one point and I was one of the younger ones. We had about 20, 25 kids in this church, and which now at times we have more than that. But we had about 20 or 25 kids in this church. You know how many of those kids I can look out here and see on any Sunday or Wednesday night?
Siblings.
Not counting my siblings.
Zero.
Zero. None of them are in this church. Now, that's what makes it so important for each of you to take this serious. Now, I'm not saying none of them in church. They are, a bunch of them are in church. They're in other churches now. They've moved away, things like that. But what the point is that it is important because some of you are going to stay around here. Some of you will not move away. Some of you will continue to go to church at Oak Grove Baptist Church just like I have all your life. That's just the way it is as long as the church is here. But we're all responsible, including y'all, for seeing to it that we are still here. We are still a church. It's all of our responsibility. So it's for us to come up with ways and to take our leadership roles, and here's the part about Christianity, so knowing when you need to sit back and let somebody else have leadership. That's, so listen to that little voice and do the things that you feel led to do, or at least talk to somebody and get it out there. It is, y'all, I hope I live to be an old man and don't know remarks. I mean, a lot older than what I am now. And I hope that when I am that old man, I'm still getting to go to church at Oak Grove Baptist Church. I love it here. This is my home. I mean, my goodness, man, I've been in, like I said, 41 years I have been right here in this church. Now, and some of our older ones have been here even longer. So, and the truth is there may be a day comes when y'all look back and say, I've been in this church for 70 years. I hope so. I hope somebody can say, I've been going to church at Oak Grove for 70 years.
Well, if you look behind you, you like, I've been.
No, I ain't talking about for me, I'm talking about for y'all. I hope y'all are able to do that. Somebody, because there is, that's the thing, is there will be one or two of you, at least, that will probably be here at Oak Grove. When you're grown, huh? But anyway, all right, so here's what we'll do. We had some pretty good ideas in here tonight. We had pamphlets, we could print up some pamphlets and invite our local community and stuff to come to church. You know, Mandy's got a shop right there. She can put up some flyers.
And we do a Bible study every Tuesday morning at the salon.
Oh, that's right, y'all still do
We
that?
do, and anybody who is capable of spreading that word, I mean, even though I
Spread
know
the
it's hard for.
It's impossible.
But, for anybody who can spread the word, because we do try to spread the word, I mean, there's only 3 of us that were.
Persistence pays off, that's the thing.
Right.
You stick with it. If the Lord's telling you to have that, then you have that, you do
Yes.
that. And it don't matter how many or how few are there.
We enjoy our time.
Because that's the
We enjoy our 3.
And here, I'm gonna tell y'all something that I've learned, and we'll try to wrap this up real quick, but something I've learned, I mean, some of you know, I do the little commentaries on Facebook, and I've been doing that for about a year now. And there's times when it just seems like, you know, you don't really get out there too much, and people don't really see it, or people don't really read it.
And
Like I said,
if it's about God, it gets out there a lot less.
and it actually does. It's part of the, it's part of the Facebook algorithms.
Yeah.
That's why that's why I have tried to figure out how can I start on it to get that algorithm to not pick up. Because that's what typically that algorithm picks up on the first couple of little bit of what you write. But then eventually you end up getting kind of tagged as this is what you're doing, and so they do get out there less. But now there's ways to get around it. One way to get around that is to encourage people to share things, and that does help get around that. Secondly, let me get back to where I was going. Oh, the point is that you do things, you don't think, just like that got 3 people, you don't think it's affecting people very much, and then one day you find out that you've been affecting people that you have no idea. There was no, you never noticed them people, you know, they didn't like your thing, they didn't comment, they didn't do none of these things, but yet you find out that they have been reading, or they've been noticing this or noticing that. That's the thing for y'all to understand. As a Christian, that's why why it's important for us to live our lives in a certain way and walk and talk the way we're supposed to, because people do notice.
It's getting hurt and seen.
And it is getting hurt and seen. I mean, at one point, I didn't know this till later. The stuff I was writing was going to a women's prison and being read about an entire cell block or wing or whatever you want to call it. I had no idea. I mean, in my mind, 15 people sees that it's all this, and 3 or 4 of them probably read all of it, you know. But the thing is you never know what you're actually doing. Do what God leads you to do, because you don't know what He's using it for, to do that kind of stuff. So anyways, we've got the idea of pamphlets. Somebody wants to try to design a little pamphlet for Oak Grove, that an invitation to come to church. Why don't we do that? Why don't we let y'all come up with you know, some designs or some pamphlets, and then we'll see what we want to do on as far as maybe printing them up and getting them out. Got
They
stuff.
all have devices.
And that's, I know, everybody here's got to, and that, you know, and that's the thing. I'd love to see some hard copy stuff that gets handed out, but there's other ways too. You can develop something that's, I guess you would call it cyber, and figure out some way to distribute it. You know, come up with those ideas, y'all. Try that kind of stuff out. And here's a good question. If anybody is interested in giving out Bibles to people, or you know people that you would like to give Bibles to, maybe let's order a case of Bibles or something like that. Josh with the Children's Fund, and they'll be available. And if you have somebody that you want to give a Bible to, you let us know. You let any of the adults here know. Hey, I got a friend, or I got a neighbor, or I got somebody that needs a Bible, or I want to give them a Bible. We'll give it to you and let you give it to them. We'll be glad to do that. Be awesome.
Are we okay with, like, if it's gonna be Bibles we give to young people, are we okay with getting them a Bible that they can understand better?
Well, let's.
Because that's really hard for.
I know what you're saying on that, and I get that. Here's what I do encourage everybody to do on that, and I'll go ahead and tell you, Now, and this is where I want to make sure you understand, this is my personal opinion.
Yeah.
I read the King James Version. That's the only version I ever read anymore. I used to read the New King James a little bit. I've read one other one, I can't even remember, the English Standard Version a little bit. I read the King James Version, and that's it. A couple of reasons. First and foremost, that's what God leads me to do. He tells me I can get all I need from that. I've said before, if the Lord's got something to tell you, though, you can read the back of a card or a cereal box and he's going to tell you. Now, before you just use any version, I do encourage you to really look into it. There are a lot of versions out there that omit a lot of stuff that don't need to be
That's
in
why
there.
I loved having this though.
You
'cause
get to compare.
I do
Oh, yeah.
appreciate my study Bible, but being able to read that King James
Oh,
Version
yeah, I agree.
and then look at a,
Yeah. And then look at yours and compare it. And that's something that's awesome to do. And that's one of the
that has
reasons.
helped a lot.
It does, I like it.
Because I'm going to go ahead and tell you, there is no doubt, there's a lot of words in the King James Version that you'll know the words, but the truth is you don't know the word, because it don't mean what you think it means. When it was written, that word had a different meaning. Now, I can give you a little bit of guidance and help on how to come to understand some of that stuff if you're interested. If somebody wants to know how to understand the King James Version better, start it with doing this. Get you a Webster's Dictionary of the American English, 1828 edition. It's the very first edition Noah Webster made. He literally used the King James Version to help develop this very in-depth dictionary. So if you have a question about a particular word, what does it really mean, you can look it up in his dictionary, and in the different entries under that word, it will literally tell you in Scripture sometimes it means this. So it tells you if you're interested in that. But I don't have a problem with that. With
I was
really
just
good
thinking
version.
where kids can understand,
Yeah.
it might make them read it better.
But the key is to
To know,
make sure
yeah,
what you're putting out there. And I'm not gonna sit up here and talk about versions because I'll hurt somebody's feelings.
Yeah.
Because I can go ahead and tell you, there's a couple of very popular versions that people use that are omit a lot of the Bible. And I pray that the Lord leads you to the right version for you. And that's what you do. You ask God to give you the right version. And do that. And like I said, I used to look at a couple other versions, but the Lord led me back to the King James. Now, the Lord has also blessed me with the ability to comprehend and understand things that I read. I've always had that as a gift of mine. And so it's easy. I can literally read a King James Version and it's like we're just talking. I understand. Huh? Yeah, it makes too. But the truth is I know, and I do know. And let me tell you all this, and this is something that I pray that everybody gets this at some point. The day that the Lord decides to reveal to you his message in the Bible, it doesn't matter.
What version?
It don't matter that you have no way, you can't understand the King James to save your life. When he reveals what he wants you to know, it's clear as day. And I'll give you an example.
And I think a lot of that comes from your heart seeking him.
It does. It is your heart
And
seeking.
even like you said, whether it's the back of a pamphlet or
Whatever
I
it
think
is.
that when he sees you seeking him,
And I can tell you this,
he responds.
it's your obedience too. It's when you accept what the Lord has for you and you just do it. And you say, Lord, I'm going to do whatever it is you want me to do. I can tell you this. I can remember a time when I could flip to the Minor Prophets and start reading and go, what in the world is that trying to say? But I'm telling you now, when I read the Minor Prophets, it literally is like I'm reading a first grade book. It's that, but I mean, that's what God does for you. You have to get yourself to the right place, and God has to decide that it's your time to do this. And that's the way that works. So like I said, on your versions, pray about it. Ask God to lead you to what you need to be looking at. And ask him to reveal to you what he wants you to know. It's our job it's not that God does everything. We have to work too. That's for sure. But anyways, Bible distribution sounds like a pretty good thing if people want to do that. And then our activities. Y'all come up with activity ideas and things like that. And let's start doing some stuff. Got to be creative because of COVID, But like I said, drive-in movies are That's COVID friendly.
Even if it's cold though, we can do it in here like we did the last
No, I mean,
time.
we-
Sit
we-
by family or.
Well, but here's the thing, we can do that, absolutely. But here's the thing, that you don't have to be in the cold to do the drive-in movie theater. We broadcast over the radio.
Yeah.
Leave your car running and your heater turned on. The point is that think of activities. And here's the thing though, when we do that, if, let's say we have a drive-in and it's cold and we got, so everybody's rolled, windows are rolled up and stuff like that, we still got to come up with creative ways to touch, to minister and fellowship with each other, especially those that we get to come that are not members here, that kind of thing. So, y'all be creative, yes, sir.
We could do what, we did to go see my buddy V a couple weeks ago. They put like a big glass box thing like that.
And we didn't put you in a box.
Put Gerald and me.
Yeah, in a box.
I know what you're saying, buddy. Absolutely, but y'all just come up with, be thinking about stuff like that.
And I think we're gonna do that too, anything in out papers. I just think that handing stuff out makes a big difference.
I do think it makes a difference. So, yeah, it's bad. Absolutely. I mean, anything like that y'all want to, hey, and there's places that will let you post your poster. You know what I mean? They'll let you put it up on, at stores and stuff like that. Do what? Yeah, and let's keep people, you'd probably be amazed at how many people live right here in Los Leon that don't even know that Grove Baptist Church is sitting.
I have plenty of clients that's never thought that we.
That's right. And it's not saying anything bad. And this is what we're talking about, that difference between our older generation and our younger generation. The older generation didn't do things the way the younger generation does. People got out and looked for things and found things. Young folks don't do it that way anymore. It ain't like that anymore. So, we do have to do things to try to increase, our lives. So, all right. So anyways, I'd really, really, really like to see the next time we come together, maybe some, a few pamphlets, designs and things like that. So y'all jump on that. Try to do something like that. Get creative with that. We'll look into getting some Bibles for distribution. So if anybody knows somebody that would like to give a Bible to, please let us know. And come up with some activity ideas. And y'all will report back next time. We good? So what we're going to do in the meantime? Just a second. What was our Bible scripture for tonight? What was it about?
Just the shine.
Shine your light. Y'all shine your lights this week. And, well, for every week. But shine your light. No matter where. I know y'all done with school for a little while, but you're going to be out and about. You're going to be encountering people. Shine your light a little bit.
My Bible study was on shining your light this morning.
Shining your lights.
My exact verse this morning.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, you don't know how many times, and I never, ever, that's one thing, me and Debbie never, ever discuss what I'm going to preach or what he's going to preach or what we're going to, and I can't tell you how many times we have literally touched on the same stuff. It's just, it's what God works.
It always happens.
What God works. You don't have to do it. Listen, here's the thing. We don't have to worry about stuff. God's going to take care of it. You do your work, don't worry. That's it. All right. That it for everybody? Ready to go to prayer requests? What?
Emily out with her grandmother, she's recovering from.
I guess that means we're going to prayer requests? Okay. I said, are we going? Are we done with everything else? But that's fine. Emily out.
Her grandmother is in the hospital at Dothan, or at, it's not Flowers, it's,
Southeast?
Yeah, and she's recovering from it, and she said that they found a blood clot
In her lungs?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fairly common thing with COVID, but especially the ones that attack that gets the pneumonia or things in their lungs. Emily out, grandmother recovering. Yes, ma'am, Camper.
My daddy.
All right. Yes, Will.
My dad wants she had an appointment yesterday.
How did things go?
Well, we had a second opinion lady on Tuesday that it looks like she's gonna not have to do chemo or radiation.
Thank the Lord for that. Let's pray for that to be the answer. Yeah, get up there.
Brother Roger.
Yeah. No, that's fine. And I do not know any details, all I know is he had to go to the,
Sarah, hey, she's getting her MRI done.
Miss Sarah, maybe we'll bless us with it. Or bless her.
Miss Kathy, through Donna.
Yes, absolutely.
One of my sister's friends, Brady Young, he has COVID.
A lot of your sister's friends.
I was gonna say, there's a, y'all, the truth is it, right now, it's
It's
running
rampant
rampant.
right
It
now.
is, it's running rampant, a lot of people have it,
Yeah.
and, let's just pray that it's not gonna be bad on most people. I know, Sean Dunn's got it right now, I've
Mr.
talked with him a little
Stevenson
bit.
has it.
Okay, Mr. Stevenson's got it. I also found out through Sean that Jeremy Rowland has it, and he now has pneumonia.
Kevin Womble.
Kevin Womble's got it pretty bad.
Poe tested positive today.
Voted,
Colby did.
COVID.
It's-
Yeah, that might be pretty rough on Poe. I mean, well, I'll tell you what, the biggest thing I've learned is that it ain't
It
got
don't
nothing to do with
discriminate.
nothing.
Poe's on a diet.
One person, you know, that should do poor with it,
Yeah,
does
just when
great.
you think you have it figured out.
You find out you don't, so. But there's a lot of people, so y'all be praying for this to pass. All right, anybody else?
I did, Troy Rushin's last year today, and, Troy has
Troy does?
and she mentioned something about they're gonna be checking on the hospital.
I think he did. I can't remember though.
He was on the
Yes,
prayer request.
he sure did.
So, like, maybe a year or so ago.
I know they're checking for cross.
Maybe a little bit
There must
longer.
be
He
a-
had some,
there must be a
yeah,
history
Troy.
there.
But,
Praise report officially done.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. She had it very good.
What happened to it again?
Thought she might have had breast cancer, but she did not.
What was it thinking about that?
Huh?
The doctor
Just some
The-
tests.
the
that-
doctor
just
tested.
some tests that they have to do, had just made some things a little fishy.
Yeah, that basically she had benign tumors, is one way to say it. It's one way.
they're not cancers.
Benign meaning that there is no cancer.
But harmless.
Yeah, that's what I.
In this case, it seems to be extremely harmless. So,
But Jackie said too that his other kidney is full of kidney stones as well. But he has to use that one, it's not functioning at all.
Hadn't seen Troy for a long time, but last time
He
I
was
saw
a winner
him.
today this morning.
All right, anybody else? Anybody? All right. Is that it? All right. Si, you want to leave some prayer tonight?
Sure.
Thank you, sir. Let's bow our heads, y'all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we just want to say just thank you for the blessings you gave over our young God. We ask you to watch over us as we go throughout the day. And you just put a safe hand on everybody traveling on boats so they can get where they're going back safely, God. We pray that you watch over everybody that's on the prayer book. And you just put a safe hand over them and your left hand, God. We pray in Jesus' name.
Amen. All right, we'll see y'all next time with all of your pamphlet designs and all that stuff. Time out. Hold up, do what?
When is
Here,
that?
here you are out there, or they already brought it in. All right, y'all come look real quick.
When is this from? When is this?
Look.
Don't you think?
I gotta say, I'm
What don't you think?
No, that's Taylor West by Marissa the
I was
little
going to say, Faith ain't even born.
That's Madison that's in the mirror.
Yep, right here. Ain't that Hannah Carroll? Okay, that's good.
That's Bryce West over on the left. The little boy.
Yeah, come on.
I mean, Taylor.
Who's in the between?
Yes.
Who is?
Assassin.
Velma's daughter? y'all.
Dang, I wasn't.
All right, I'm gonna go and get home to her, Josh.
Sam
I'm
and
gonna get home
Piper.
to Carson.
Sam and Piper.
I
Can't
don't,
really.
I don't like her being there.
Boy, Piper and Piper were not going out.
That was longer than 7 minutes.
Y'all, let's go to Green Hills.
Oh, well.
They ain't gonna be good. Jenny said he's not.